Well, it was another double-digit victory for the Miami Heat, but this was hardly easy as they hold off the Sacramento Kings 120 to 108 here at American Airlines Arena. The Heat go on to win their seventh straight game. All 7 victories have been by double figures, and they continue their hot stretch as they go into the All-Star break with 1 game left to play, a sort of big affair Thursday night. So I'll call this game exactly what it was. It was a tune-up. It was a tune-up. The main event is coming Thursday when the New York Knicks, Jeremy Lin and the New York Knicks come to American Airlines Arena Thursday night to play the Heat in the last game for both teams before the All-Star break. We'll get to more on the Knicks in a second. First, I want to read this night for the Miami Heat, who got a big game from Dwayne Wade, another sharp shooting night from Mario Chalmers, a big boost off the bench in the fourth quarter from the bench to secure the win. And, the Sacramento Kings are a team that they're a young team on the rise. They have a lot of young talent, but they don't really know how to close games. This team gave the Heat all that they can stand for the better part of 40 minutes, and Miami was finally able to put it away in the final 8 minutes of the game with a nice spurt. But Miami continues to stay hot, as I said before. Let me back up a minute. I almost forgot to tell you what we're doing here. This is Mike Wallace of Heat Index, ESPN.com's Heat Index. You're here at the Heat Temp Check show. And I apologize for getting a little bit ahead of myself. That's to be expected with this week. Everybody's looking forward to Thursday. We're all working sort of in advance right now. And moments after this game ended, moments after the final buzzer, everything and every single bit of focus was moving forward towards Thursday night for Thursday night's big heavyweight showdown between the Heat and the Knicks. But before we move on to that, I'll give you my 5 keys to this game, 5 keys to tonight's victory over the Sacramento Kings. Miami did 5 things that stood out to me. And first and foremost, you have to start with the play of Dwayne Wade. He tied his career-long streak with his 11th consecutive game shooting at least 50% from the field tonight. He finished with 30 points and 10 assists. This is only the third 30-point game this season for Dwayne Wade. And Coach Eric Spoelstra said before the game that Dwayne is not asked to do as much. Of course, he has teammates such as Chris Bosh and LeBron James. So he's not asked to do as much as he was before they got here. So those 30-point outbursts are going to be fewer and farther between. But tonight was one of those games where he continued and maintained his efficiency, and we saw that in a 11 of 16 shooting performance tonight, again, for those 30 points and 10 assists. So that was Dwayne. That was key number 1. Key number 2 was another hot shooting stretch, as I mentioned before, from Mario Chalmers. Chalmers tied his career mark with 6 made three-pointers. So he's getting ready for this weekend's festivities up in Orlando for the All-Star break. He's going to be participating in the three-point shooting contest, and he knocked down 6 of 12 today from the field. So he has the green light, obviously, and it's been falling for him all season long. He's shooting close to 52% from the field and, about 46% from three-point range. So Mario still has the hot touch, and it's been something the Heat has needed to supplement what Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James are doing. But he wasn't the only one who had a big night. As I mentioned before, the bench played huge tonight. They provided 32 points off the bench in this victory. But more importantly, it was a key 7-0 stretch in the fourth quarter where this game was still up for grabs. The bench, sparked by Norris Cole, Shane Battier, Mike Miller, Udonis Haslem, and Chris Bosh was the one starter in the game. But they went on a 7-0 run when the game was still to be decided, and they mushroomed the lead back to 12 points. Pushed it back to double figures, and Miami was able to cruise from there. And afterwards, Eric Spoelstra credited the bench for being the decisive force, the decisive unit that helped this team move forward with this victory here. So that's where the Heat stand at this point. There are 2 other points that I'd like to make in addition to those 3 that I just made. And these are 2 points of concern as we move forward. Another team came in here and shot lights out from three-point range. Now, people would say that the Miami Heat will give a team three-point looks, and they would trade bad three-point looks instead of giving up good 2-point shots. But again, the Sacramento Kings is a team that came in here and got hot. We've seen other teams come in here and get hot. Miami is still sort of struggling with giving up that three-point shot, and teams are knocking it down against Miami. So there's one weakness on this team, or one cause of concern for this defense, is that teams are getting open looks. And as you can see, the three-point shooting tonight, Sacramento shot 13 of 27 for 48%. A lot of that had to do with a nice hot stretch in the second half from rookie point guard Isaiah Thomas, who knocked down 4 in a span of what seemed like 4 or 5 minutes. I mean, he got hot and hit 4 3-pointers and then went to the free throw line and took 3 free throws after he missed a 3-pointer and was fouled. So, teams are streaky, but again, 3-point shooting is can be an Achilles heel for this team, the Miami Heat, as they move forward. They have to get that corrected. And the fifth point that I found, from tonight's game is just the general point guard play. One thing about Miami is that they've seemed to struggle a bit when they're facing an opposing team's quicker point guard, quicker, more attacking point guard. And what I saw tonight was Isaiah Thomas and Tyreke Evans consistently get where they wanted to go, consistently get to the rim, attack, and put pressure in the paint on this Miami Heat defense. And again, when you have a team like the New York Knicks coming in with Jeremy Lin playing the point guard and attacking guards in their backcourt, that could pose some problems for Miami Heat Thursday night. That's something they have to get corrected. Now, granted, Mario Chalmers and Norris Cole did match Tyreke Evans and Isaiah Thomas in terms of points. I mean, the production was going both ways. The Sacramento Kings didn't do a thing to stop Mario or Norris either for most of the night. So it was one of those things that if you're going to nitpick and find a pet peeve in this game, it continues to be the 3-point shooting for the Miami Heat's defense, as well as their ability to slow down an opposing team's attacking point guard. So those are my 5 points for the game. As you know, what we do here on the Heat Index Temp Check show, I turn part of this show over to you, and that's what I'm going to do right now as we get ready to go take some of your questions and your comments and your concerns, frankly. And, obviously what we do is we invite you to participate in the show, and it's always a positive thing that we try to do with this show. So hopefully, you guys continue to catch on. I pulled down several questions that I'll address right now, and that's just questions that come from, frankly, our Twitter feed as well as our Facebook page. Majority of the majority of the questions today came from our Twitter feed. So I'll start with Ryan Trott's Twitter question. Ryan asked, any idea why James Jones never gets any playing time? His consistency last season calls for it. Well, if that's the biggest problem and the biggest question you have, then I think you're pretty safe as a Miami Heat fan. I talked to James earlier today for a podcast that's going to be coming out later this week, and James is trying to maintain his professionalism. He's trying to maintain some calmness and support this team and do whatever he's asked to do. But he knows the minutes are going to be tough to come by simply because Miami has a lot of depth at the perimeter spots. A lot of people have called for James Jones to get more playing time because of his 3-point shooting. But we've seen Mike Miller regain his touch. Shane Battier has been able to knock down some shots. And then those are just the 2 backups at the 2 and 3 spots. Your starters, obviously, are Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. So once you get those 4 guys their minutes, it's really not a lot of time to get a 5th shooter out there, particularly when you got Norris Cole in there, too, playing some off guard or point guard when Mario Chalmers moves over to the shooting guard. So there's just not a lot of room there for James Jones, but he vows to maintain his professionalism and stay ready for when his number is called. Next question is from Krishna Akanini, and I'll go and take Krishna's questions here. Hey, Mike, quick point guards give the Heat fits, so will we see a lot more LeBron on Jeremy Lin? Great question. And I just addressed that earlier in the earlier segment of the show. Quick point guards do tend to give Miami some problems, particularly lately. Obviously they've run off this nice stretch of double-digit victories, but you have seen some point guards sort of dictate tempo against this team and push the pace and sort of get Miami backpedaling and on their heels. Now, the Jeremy Lin question is going to be an important key in Thursday's game because really Mario Chalmers and Norris Cole are going to have to be able to contain Jeremy Lin. Because if you have to switch LeBron James on Jeremy Lin, then who's going to guard Carmelo Anthony? Who's going to guard J.R. Smith? Who's going to guard those guys who are capable of going off for big nights? So if you put in your best perimeter defender on the point guard, that forces a mismatch somewhere else. And the Knicks, they're still coming together as a team. They're still not ready yet in terms of cohesion and cohesiveness. But what they do have is a team full of weapons on the bench and in the starting lineup. So, again, Miami is going to commit to trying to defend Jeremy Lin straight up, maybe shading over with a slight double to force the ball out of his hands. But Mario Chalmers is going to have to get the job done early and hopefully for the Miami Heat's sake, late as well, because you can't afford to move LeBron James or Dwayne Wade because there's just too many guys that need to be covered on the New York Knicks roster. Cody Penny asks, do I think the Heat will make any moves before the trade deadline? This is a team right now. The one weakness that I still see is that they still need another rebounding presence. Udonis Haslem has stepped up huge, but Eric Spoelstra and Udonis Haslem continue to talk about how he's undersized at that position, and they need more rebounding and more toughness inside. Now, I did like what I saw from Joel Anthony tonight. He was a deterrent at the rim. He didn't take any shots, but he did block several shots, and he had 5 rebounds. And Chris Bosh also provided a double-double tonight. So when Chris Bosh is rebounding, that sort of masks the Heat's shortcomings in the post for size and rebounding. But you need a lot from Chris Bosh and from Udonis Haslem, as well as from the perimeter guys to come back and get some boards. But I don't see Miami making a major move. If they do anything, it's going to be minor. But I think they're going to keep this team intact right now. The trade deadline is still 2-3 weeks away, so there's no urgency to make a move at this point, specifically with the way the team is playing. We'll go to Diego Quezada, who asks, Chris Bosh received some shots early tonight. Does that give him a rhythm for the rest of the game, unlike what we've seen in other games? Well, I mentioned that before. Chris Bosh has had a big game tonight. He had a double-double, finishing tonight's game with Chris Bosh was at 20 points and 10 rebounds. So if he can maintain those kind of averages and that kind of production level, he'll be just fine. You know, he even had a block shot as well. So Chris Bosh needs to continue to get his rhythm. He had 14 shots today. And if he can get that many shots, somewhere between 10 and 14 shots a game, he can be effective. But it's about where he's going to be effective, not so much as how often. He has to be more of a post presence, having effectiveness down there. The more we see that from Chris, the better off this team is going to be. Brett Spurlock asks, has Mario Chalmers become the 3rd best player on this Heat team? That's a tough question. It's a good question. It's an interesting question. But Mario remains a specialist. He's knocking down his shots, and as long as he continues to knock down those shots, that's going to be a big boost for the Miami Heat. But no, the answer is no. Chris Bosh is still the 3rd best player on this team. It starts with LeBron James. It goes to Dwayne Wade, and then Chris Bosh is right there. But if Mario Chalmers is playing the way he's playing, shooting the way he's shooting, and he's your 4th or 5th best player, you're in a pretty good spot if you're the Miami Heat. Going from there to Narayan. Narayan asks, LeBron, in my opinion, is slowly beginning to play like he did with the Cavs, with a lot better teammates. My thoughts. Well, I don't want to go there with LeBron James and comparing them and bringing up the Cleveland Cavaliers. If you guys need my opinion on that, all you got to do is go to Heat Index, ESPN.com's Heat Index, and you'll find my column about LeBron James and the whole flirtation with the Cleveland, return to Cleveland one day in the future thing. I called it out then. I said LeBron was wrong for doing that. He picked a poor time to sort of get nostalgic and reminisce on Cleveland. I don't fault the guy for being honest. We want that as journalists. We want guys to answer our questions as openly and honestly as possible. But we can also appreciate a guy who knows when and where to say the right thing. And that's not the question I was asked tonight, but I did want to get that out of the way there. But the fact of the matter is, there's no need to compare LeBron to what he's doing in Cleveland anymore. He's here in Miami. It's his 2nd full year, and he's playing the most efficient basketball that he's played in his entire career. So really, he's playing better than he played when he was in Cleveland. And we'll see if that translates into the playoffs and into the finals if this team can make another run the way they did last season. Greg Okada. Greg, I appreciate you. You've probably been one of the guys that's had a question every single show that we've done with the Temp check, and I appreciate your loyalty. Why isn't Mike Miller the first guy off the bench? Well, Spoelstra's rotation has Shane Battier right now as the first guy off the bench, and it's sort of an intricate transition there because Shane comes in to replace Dwayne Wade. Mike Miller comes in to normally replace LeBron James. LeBron normally plays the entire first quarter, whereas Dwayne Wade comes out in the final minutes of the first quarter. So it's just, as long as Mike and Shane end up with anywhere between 18 to 24 minutes a game, that's pretty much where Spoelstra wants to get them at. And I think we saw that again tonight. Shane Battier had 18 minutes, 19 minutes basically, and Mike Miller had 19. So Spo did it again. I mean, I don't know if he's planning to do it this way every single game, but he did come up with a way to make it happen tonight to get both of those guys in the game. So that's where we are with that question there. Jada Fish asked me on Twitter, who's the best team in the NBA at the All-Star break? Well, I have to say right now, the Miami Heat and the Oklahoma City Thunder came into tonight with identical records. Miami went up a game tonight, and pick them. It's a pick 'em to me. It's a pick 'em. The Miami Heat, you can certainly argue that they're playing the best basketball they played in the Big Three era with Chris, Dwayne, and LeBron. You can also say, what the Oklahoma City Thunder did the other night with Russell Westbrook getting 40 and Kevin Durant getting 51. I mean, yeah, and Serge Ibaka getting a triple double. I mean, both of these teams are playing phenomenal basketball right now, and it's setting up for quite a potential NBA Finals matchup if both of these guys can continue to stay hot and avoid any slip ups in the playoffs. I would love to see an Oklahoma City Miami Heat NBA Finals, and I think we're on a collision course for that right now. So that takes care of the questions for this period of the show, and I'll just wrap up with some quick thoughts looking ahead to the New York Knicks. Knicks fans were in the house tonight. I saw a Jeremy Lin, an authentic New York Knicks Jeremy Lin jersey among the fans in the crowd tonight. The New York media, some members of the New York media were here tonight covering this game. So you can get a sense that it's a big game coming. They just built the big top across the street for, I think, what's the a traveling circus is going to be right across the street. But, hey, it's going to be one in this building as well in about 48 hours. So there's a lot of hype, a lot of buildup for this game. And the New York Knicks are a team that could give the Miami Heat problems. You have to admit that. You have to admit that Jeremy Lin is playing an efficient brand of basketball. Smart point guards, smart, quick point guards who can shoot, give the Miami Heat problems. J.R. Smith has traditionally been a Heat killer in his days with the Denver Nuggets. And, you never know. Carmelo Anthony could come out of his shell, come out of his funk. He's only been back for a game or two since he's had that injury. We've seen what Tyson Chandler was able to do against this team in the NBA Finals. Amari Stoudemire has been inconsistent against Miami since he's been in New York. But again, when you talk about the New York Knicks, you're talking about a team now that has multiple weapons. They can give you multiple problems, and the Miami Heat is certainly going to have to be on their best game. And honestly, that game is going to be far more entertaining than anything that we'll see up in Orlando for the All-Star game. So everybody's looking forward to the Miami Heat and New York Knicks game Thursday. I'm certainly looking forward to it. I think it's going to be one of the best games of the season. It certainly sets up to be a very, very big game. And there's even rumors that the president, we already had one president stop by earlier in this week when Bill Clinton came by and saw the game the other night. President Obama is going to be in town this week, and he could be a guest for that game as well. So all eyes will be on American Airlines Arena Thursday night when Jeremy Lin and company come to face the Heat here at American Airlines Arena. So for ESPN.com's Heat Index, I'm Michael Wallace. Follow our coverage at HeatIndex.com. Go to ESPN Heat Index, and you can read Brian Windhorst's story on the game tonight, as well as our build-up for the New York Knicks game on Thursday. Check out Tom Habistrou's grades. And again, come back. I'm going to have a grade book in our coverage tomorrow as well, where at the halfway point, Miami's 33 games into the season now. We're at the halfway point, and I'll be grading each and every player on the roster, as well as Coach Spoelstra and team president Pat Riley on the jobs they've done through the first half of this season. So again, thanks a lot for joining us. For Brian Windhorst and Tom Habistro, ESPN.com's Heat Index, I'm Michael Wallace signing off from American Airlines Arena. Take care. Peace.